Hello, I am back again. And today, I'm going to talk about Jackass Forever. Now, to the tripod. Okay, so, obviously, this movie, I don't know, I guess it just had a little bit of things to say about it. I don't know. So I watched it last night, and, this one was an interesting movie. Not so much what happened, like the movie itself. The idea of the movie in general is, at first I need my drink. Glass. Cheap ass vodka. Cheaper ass soda. One hearty concoction of cheap. Alright. So, this movie is interesting because it almost doesn't need to exist. And I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's not. Um, if this was the first Jackass movie ever, you'd probably have a takeaway like, it wasn't a great movie, wasn't a bad movie. It was an interesting movie. It was funny. I will say I laughed a lot throughout this movie. It uh it definitely had some good ideas in it, but a lot of the ideas felt kind of like they would be on the point five versions of the movies, like almost like these were all the ideas that never made it to the other movies or something. That's not to say they're not good enough to be in a movie, but you got to take into consideration these guys are in their 50s now. And they were probably all sitting around like, guys, what can we do for this movie? We need to do something. And I don't think they ever really set out to top the previous movies so much as continue it and show that they can still do it. But it's like they were all sitting around. It's like, well, guys, we can't take too much of a beating, but what's something we can all do? And it's like all at once, everybody was like, we got penises, But I mean, they do some crazy stuff. Do. I said do. Like Knoxville, I mean, after he gets hit by that bull, everybody's looking at him like, I think I just saw Knoxville die, and they were pretty freaked out. And it is kind of weird to watch. You see him, get taken out like that. But, hmm, trying to express the feeling of watching this movie. And when I say it almost doesn't need to exist, it's the takeaway I had from watching it. Like, Jackass 3 is my favorite one. When you watch that, you feel like you're hanging out with your friends, you're having a good time. This movie almost the takeaway feels empty. Like you're watching everything happen, but you're almost watching Jackass pretend to be Jackass, or almost like a really expensive YouTube video where the Jackass guys are the guest stars, and you have these new people, the new Jackass. The problem with bringing the new people in, though, is unless you plan to continue this with them, what was really the point in bringing them in? Besides to, soften the load for the other guys, the older guys. So you bring in these new guys, which I didn't mind them. There's a couple that were just weird, and I don't know why they included some of the bits with the one guy's dad. It was kind of weird. I mean, just the way he reacts, it's not very. I don't know. It just felt off. Like he kind of killed the mood a little bit. I guess it made for good movie though, because you see somebody reacting to certain things in a real way. That's how that guy reacts to things, and that's fine. But I did like some of the other guys, and I'm not saying I don't like any of them. They're all. I think the problem is I don't know them, and we'll probably never get a chance to know them in the Jackass universe. So that's the first impression you get from these people, and you never really had that chance to get to know them like you did watching the Jackass TV show leads up to the movies. You already feel like you have a bond with them, even though they don't know who you are. You feel like you're hanging out with your friends when you're watching it. So when you watch Jackass Forever, you you get this feeling that something's missing, that something's different, something ain't right. And that's because it is. Bam Margera is not in it. And, I won't get really too far into what's going on with him. You can look that up if you're interested in it. Um, and obviously, Ryan Dunn is not with us anymore. And those two being gone from the movie really kind of impacts it a little bit. They bring something to it that the other guys just don't have. And that's why Jackass always worked. Everybody was important. Everybody collectively made the group work. And I'm not saying the new movie doesn't work. It just feels a little off. It feels kind of like they're creating Jackass, but it's Jackass, but it's like somebody trying to imitate Jackass, even though the original guys are there, if that makes sense. It's like it lost some of its, like, for instance, some of the old movies had some really good bits, and you feel satisfied after watching them. There's a good satisfied, like, that was a good bit, that was hilarious. Some of it was dangerous, and you took away a good, satisfied, completed feeling after watching it. When you watch Jackass Forever, you're kind of always waiting for that good bit to come around. Not that the bits are bad, they're just kind of like, okay, well, that was kind of goofy and funny. Is the next one going to be like some crazy thing? And it never really quite happens. And I don't want to take away any of the dangerous stuff that these guys did. Everything they did was dangerous. Well, not everything. Some of it was just fun, stupid stuff. But the dangerous stuff was dangerous. Knoxville almost got killed. And some of the other stuff is legitimately dangerous stuff. But for some reason, it all feels a little bit lesser, I think, in comparison to the older movies. And they're older. They can only go through so much. I think they did a good job for their age, considering all the good ideas have been used in all the old movies, too. This one was just kind of like, I guess it is kind of like hanging out with your friends, doing some silly, goofy stuff, putting it on camera. But the impact it left was not as fulfilling as the old movies. I can barely remember the first movie. The second movie was a little more, I guess, edgy. They did some more dangerous stuff. The third movie really felt like they got together and they just wanted to have as much fun as possible. Where this one felt a little forced, like they wanted to make a movie, but they didn't really have an ultimate goal. So they just had to pick a random skit that seemed like it was the biggest, to use that as the finish for the movie. Because when the finish for the movie comes around, you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty wild. And then you see the things going off, and you're like, oh, okay, I think I'm at the end of the movie. And then you realize this is the end of the movie, and you're like, oh man, they never really hooked you with that one good thing that you're gonna think about afterwards. It'd be like, wow, that was insane. And number three had so many good ones. Like the hand bit with that big ass hand just whacking people. That was great. Steve-O and the porta potty going up in the air. There were so many good, funny things in that. And the new one just feels a little. What would the word be? Just. Whatever the word I'm looking for is, it's just, I don't want to say lacking, but it's almost like their heart wasn't fully in it. And I don't know what the reasoning for doing it was. Obviously they want the money and they want to say, hey, we got Jackass and we're keeping it alive. But it didn't feel passionate, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Because it doesn't have to be. These guys don't have to do Jackass anymore. At all. And one of the cool things about this movie is they are. And they're back to do some goofy stuff. Just for the hell of it, really. No real reason besides just the hell of it. So that is a cool aspect. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. It's worth a watch. It is worth watching. You sit down and end it, and you're like, I'm glad I watched that. And I did laugh. I laughed a lot throughout the movie. I think if I never saw the third one, this one would be better. The third one definitely is way up here, where this one's, down a little bit lower. but it's by no means a bad movie. It's Jackass. I think what kills it a little bit is the new people. Not that they're bad. It's just different, and sometimes different is weird, especially when you don't have a chance to already get to know the people. Um, so you're kind of, you're thrust into a new movie with new people, and you're trying to get to learn about them and feel them out a little bit as you're watching them. And by the time you really get there, the movie's over. So most of the movie spent getting accustomed to the new people and watching, the older guys do some throwbacks to the older stuff and a lot of penis stuff. And it is fun and it's silly and it's a good time. It's fun to sit down and have a drink or two and watch it. Speaking of a drink, more certified cheapness. I don't know why I paused that just to sit it down. Anyway, I think I rambled enough. Yeah, the movie's good. It's just not as good as the old ones. So if you watch it, don't expect this crazy experience where you're gonna walk away feeling like, wow, that was the craziest Jackass ever. It's not that. It's more like I don't know how to explain it other than it just feels like it's almost like if Jackass had a YouTube video, like a YouTube channel, where they made like a series of stuff and nothing was ever. It's not like the Jackass movies are the WrestleMania of Jackass. That's where the best ideas come together. Where this movie more feels like YouTube videos that you would put out once a month or every couple weeks with some good ideas, but it never really hits that WrestleMania, uh, level, which is okay. The guys are old. They've done. They've entertained us for years and years and years. They don't owe us anything, but they still gave us a new movie to watch, and I appreciate it. I appreciate them for it. I'll probably watch it again. That's another thing, though. The rewatchability for 3, I can still watch again. I could watch it tonight if I wanted to, and still laugh and have a good time. Where this one, I wasn't inclined to watch it right away afterwards, or like I'll probably watch it again, um, a couple times maybe throw it on in the background while I play a game or something. But I didn't feel that need to watch it again, like a couple days later or something. Where when 3 came out, I watched that a lot, a lot. But yeah, I mean, I recommend watching it. It's definitely worth a watch. Even if you feel slightly disappointed, don't let that disappointment trick you into thinking you watched a bad movie. It wasn't bad. It was just not as crazy. It's because you're watching a bunch of old guys and new people that you're not familiar with. And it's okay. It's fine. The movie's fine. You know, on a scale of awful to amazing, it's serviceable. It's fine. It exists. I'm glad it exists. It doesn't necessarily need to exist, but I'm glad it does. So, with that, I hope everybody has a good day or a night, or if you watch this whenever you're watching it. And if you are the person that watched this video, thank you. I appreciate that. Have a good one.